need tonight is your voice.
Dumelang Sanbonani, and welcome to another beautiful and exciting episode. Today we are discussing something elungore. You know, every time Haribua Kabo Makoti, I get so excited. But before we tap into the topic today, my name is Queen KR, and we are having Meklio, remember regular Ravaliena on the show before. But today we are tackling something different from what we were talking about the previous time. So today Ribuaka Bomakoti Bakale faces the modern Makotis. We know gore khale khale bomme ba rena ne le bomakoti ba re ba submissive, and rena bomakoti ba no are you submissive. So we will be tackling that issue. Cleo is a wife, she's a mother, and she's been married for over 20 years. So she is an expert woman, I believe, and she is going to be telling us what are some of the tips they Anyway, welcome, Cleo.
Thank you very much. Good to be here again.
Yes, it's such an honor to have you. So today, Rebua Kabo Makoti, Bakale faces Bomakoti, Ba Konyanung. Anyway.
Oh yes, there is.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
I remember when I got married back then. You know, you'd be introduced to Abu Mamkulu, Abu Gog, Abu Ban. And I remember looking at the dress code. I was so lost.
Yeah.
Kunale dress code yabona lama phinifa lawa wakhona khona nale language you know makoti and then awubabheki nasemehlweni.
Yeah.
And at some point I thought I wonder ngizolunga lana yazi. All I know is that I love my husband.
You just want to get married to this.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
But there is a huge difference, you know, in a lot of things, be it the dress code, the mannerism, a number of things. You know, remember back then, wives were not even employed. They were housewives.
True.
You know, you know.
And
you know, like Maslow's hierarchy would say, you know, everyone has a sense of wanting to actualize themselves. Yes, mhlambi mali khona like haya slambi is right, but nami I have a life, khona this thing, yeah, fully satisfy. So we're seeing more and more of self-actualization. People want to achieve things, not maybe so much for financial purposes, but just to enhance themselves, empower themselves, and so on. But yeah, going back to your question, there is a huge difference. And just by the way, it's going to change even further. I am raising daughters.
Yeah.
And I can see it's going to change.
Another generation.
If I thought I was in between,
yeah,
it's far from it, because they are moving to the far right, while my mom is probably on the far left. I think my generation would be somewhat in between, but yeah, a lot is going to change.
So, Haribueka Bomakoti Bakhale, what are some of the things they know nebadi yet at how social the current generation?
Yeah, my biggest worry, so my biggest worry was the dress code and the duke. Remember, at some point, she's available, and the Makotis from time to time, guess where they would be in the house, in the kitchen, and cooking, and this thing, and all those things. So dress code was one of them.
Right.
Secondly, it was suddenly the way you're supposed to change how you talk. Not generally, I am loud. I don't need a loudspeaker or
a tone.
So suddenly, and then I mustn't look at people and so on. So those were really frustrating things. But also, more than anything, the fact that you were boxed to be somewhere in the kitchen, bare feet, and just making babies, literally. And yeah, those are some of the things. But, you know, my generation has changed a lot of things. We have people, you know, women that are business women in their own right. They are professionals, they are independent, much as they're married, but, you know, there is a sense of independence. So that's the change that I am currently seeing. And as I said, raising children, particularly girl children, I'm seeing them drifting even further. You know, I have nieces that would say, I want to travel the world. For that matter, I don't even want a child. You know, so those are things that we're going to be seeing a lot of, and we need to evolve. You know, each and every generation has got its own dynamics. I like the way they would put it in politics when they say each and every generation has got its own battles, its own war. So yeah, our generation has had its own war, and we've kind of managed to maneuver and change things, but the next generation is going to do even bigger, and I'm sure the next one will be even worse.
Go na le mo e leng gore batho a ba nyaka go change, where I think khale because women were more submissive because of the head of the house providing and all that. The men must provide and the women must take care of the household and all that. So this way doesn't change, where women should still do the house chores, the domestic chores at home, and then still go and work, especially more generation. So what's your take on that?
You've just described my life, literally.
Right.
I am a mother, I am a wife, I am a professional woman. Sometimes, to be honest, and not because it's imposed, I think we also just pressurize ourselves
As
and
women.
maybe unaware and indirectly, because I feel I want to be there for my children. I want to raise them, be there more than my mom was there for me. Remember, our mothers were the generation that would leave home at 6, come back home at 6. In my case, I made it a point that I want to drop my kids off at school. I want to pick them up, but I still want to work and so on. Even financially, I contribute a lot financially. Some things I would do, my husband would say, "Lay pumapi," because I feel I'm also financially okay, so I will contribute. And of course, there are certain things. I mean, as women, you're also sitting there thinking, "I lay funu baba, I funi mina, I funi budget yam." But yeah, like you just said, you've just described me. But what I'm liking about my generation is that we have a choice. There are women who would still, I want to stay at home. Ngifuna indoda ngithi, they say indoda ezoyenza yonke into.
Yeah.
And there are those that would say, mina, yes, I want to be married, but I want to have my own life. I want my independence. I want to be educated. I want my own things. And there are those that would say, mina ngifuna nje ukuba usiponono.
Yeah.
Upopi nje.
Ngigeze ngibe muhle.
Phela. But the good thing is that we
yeah.
have a choice. Our mothers didn't have so much of a choice. At least we have that choice, and you're also able to work out in terms of, do I want it 50-50, 80-20, 70-30? Like I say, in my case, there are things that I take care of financially, but there are those big things at home that I feel good. I lay funa ubabala endlini. Yeah.
Yes.
So I have that choice.
Right.
But in the event that he wouldn't be there, guess what? I'd be able to do those things. But ngoba ukhona. So yeah. So that's the beauty of it.
So there are times when a lot of people would say, but it's, in most cases, men are not the ones that are pressurizing women. Women are pressurizing you as a woman to say, umsadi, utlamele o apare so, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Especially ha o le mosadi, o ka se re o mosadi o bue emella, ha mosadi a tlhokofaletse ke monna, this. Like, women are the ones that oppress other women, especially when it comes to the makoti title. Is that even true?
It is very true, sadly so. It's very rare you'd hear males in a family saying, why ugoge kanje? Why usakenya in? Guess who does that all the time? It's women. And sadly, sometimes I say we become hypocritical, because remember, as a woman, at some point you have a sibling who is your brother, but you would want to treat his wife like a makoti. But when it comes to you being a makoti, you want to be this independent, free makoti. So we do oppress one another, unfairly so. We tend to dictate. And usually I boil it down to the self. If you do not have the love, you can't give the love. If you do not have the sense of freedom, you can't give other people that sense of freedom. So those are people that have issues with themselves, and they tend to impose those issues upon other people. Because half the time, if it's between a couple, you find the husband doesn't mind. In fact, he loves the way you dress. That's why he was attracted to you, and he wants you to maintain it. Should you maintain it, you're no longer his wife, you're like his mother, so to speak. So he's happy with that, but the people that are going to be making comments out there somehow end up affecting the way he wants to see you. So you'd find, I remember the first few years of my life, of my married life, we used to use one car. So every time I would make sure I have itugu and scarf, so that should we decide ukuthi namhlanje rofeta You know, even if I'm wearing pants, I'd then suddenly put around my sarong, around the pants, and put on the duke, etc. He was okay with me. We come from work. In fact, in the morning, he said, "You look good." But because we're going to his house, suddenly, well, his parents' house, that is, suddenly I need to have a duke on, etc., etc. So it's also us wanting to please everybody as women. I think we need to take ownership of who we are and who we want to be, and disregard, and not in a bad way, but disregard all the other noises on the side. Be who you want to be. It's the same as parenting. One woman would parent this way, the other way. True. I'm the kind of parent that would say, "Ngiphekile, mawulifuna izamba nemntanami, likhona, thatha. Mawungalifuni, there's another alternative," as opposed to shoving down what you want onto your kids. Same as letting them choose their careers. You know, I'm not the kind of parent who'd say, I want you to be this, you have to be this. It's a matter of, I want you to be financially independent. How you go about it, ang mindy. And I'll support you financially, emotionally, and otherwise. So hence I say it really just boils down to us, and us needing to be okay with ourselves so that we can be okay with other people, and mind your own business in a good way.
Dreamstream, a place to create yourself. Record video, music, and podcast in our full-service studio. Dreamstream, a place to create yourself. Record video, music, and podcast in our full-service studio. Dreamstream, a place to create yourself.
You know, a lot of women would lose themselves. You find a person uthanda this career path, uthanda ukugqoka kanje, uthanda this outspoken, bubbly, out and about. And then here she is, she meets this person and then gets married, and then she loses herself completely because she's told ukuthi umakoti akayenzi 1 2 3 4. Yeah. What are some of the things that women can do to avoid finding themselves in such situations?
Firstly, I'm going to say, don't rob yourself. As a woman, you might be married to someone. Ultimately, you might even be a mother to someone, but don't rob yourself of being you. Labantu bayafika bayadlula emhlabeni. Kids at some point leave. I mean, I have a 17-year-old that is at varsity right now, and I can tell you, I doubt if she'll ever come back to live with us permanently any longer. She's going to starting her life. That's just how it is. So don't rob yourself. Same as a partner. You know, at some point, you know, things happen. We don't encourage divorce, but people get divorced. Your spouse might pass on. Now, if you were in a situation where you lost yourself and became this person, imagine how difficult it's going to be to find yourself again and build yourself up, build your career, build your self-confidence, etc. And that's what creates bitterness in a lot of people. People are married. Let's just give an example. In my case, it's more than 20 years. But you might find someone who's been married for 20 years actually having only been married for 2 years because they got out of that marriage 2 years into the 20 years.
And then they were just pushing over kunabantwana zinendlu.
Orang sasebenzi, I need to be maintained. So ngizobekezela nje, just as long as bills are paid, as long as in. But actually, is it really 20 years? Maybe not. Maybe it's just 2 years, maybe 2 days even. You know, so we need to ensure that we don't lose ourselves because we become better. Then you can imagine, here you are, you've had to stop your career, be a stay-home mom, and so on, and you're seeing your partner growing professionally. And you know, and usually I tend to think all relationships are like my relationship with my husband. We met in matric. He was my high school sweetheart and my matric dance partner. So I knew his dreams, I knew my dreams, and I see him succeeding and actualizing his dreams, and he encourages me to do the same. Now imagine had I stepped aside and seeing him at ngama channels, ngabe nguphi?
You know,
I would be sabotaging him because somehow angithi ngifeel ukuthi wena uyaphila mina ngiphili. I mean, I know sometimes you know, when it comes to things like pregnancy, literally I would enjoy my pregnancy all the way until maybe the last 2 months, because now you are so big, you're not as flexible and mobile,
You're
etc.
tired.
And then maybe at some point, really, you're at home, you're about to give birth. And you see him, yes, uyamkhapha to love you, uyamkhapha emotweni umbhekile, he smells nice, he looks good, and you're like, my goodness, mina ngaga, I can't even move, my clothes don't fit. So it will happen, but I knew what it's temporary. But imagine if that would be a permanent.
Ungabi cooked up, so focus only on that. So in terms of, what are some of the things that women can do, to find themselves in a healthy marriage, even after 20 years? Uzithola usase happy, usase where you still pushing, you still achieving, you still that woman or pupa uba uyena like years ago.
Yeah. In my case, I audit myself every year. I do stock taking every year. I literally, when people go on strat plans,
Right.
I go on my own strat plan.
Right.
Same as my family. At some point, we go as a family. Noma singahambanga, khona la endlini, guys, let's have a meeting, let's talk. So when uthi next year kwenzakalani and so on. But coming back to what you're asking, literally that's what I do. Last year I achieved this. This year, this is what I want to achieve. Last year, I did very well here. I want to improve. Last year, I didn't do so well in this area. I want to improve. That's what we should be doing. Biblically speaking, whatever that is not growing, it rots. Where there's no vision, people perish. So there's nothing like I'm standing still, I'm at the same level. No. It's either you're growing or you're regressing. So if you are not growing, watch it, you are regressing. You need to be improving all the time. It can be wardrobe. You can have the same dress this year and still wear it in 5 years, but you wear it differently.
Yes.
So trend yepandenyana, thin belt this year, next year big belt. Earrings nyana, you evolve, you adapt, you grow, you change. So that's what we should be doing as women. That's what everyone basically, even with men, that's what you should be doing.
So, in closing, in terms of, religion, culture, tradition, do you think somehow they should be revisited, especially with the rules? Religion, tradition, maybe should they be revisited? Some of the challenges that we are facing, especially as women, gender-based violence, women committing suicide, women being in psychiatric wards because of the depression, women raising children on their own. Do you think, if culture and religion are revisited, we can be at a better place?
Absolutely. The two issues you're touching on, religion and culture, are very sensitive. And simply because we have made them to be doctrines, instead of us getting them to work for us as culture, as religion, we want to work towards it. I believe religion, just like culture, just like anything, it evolves. There's a time when our parents would wear the bell-bottom pants. There are times when they would wear the afro. But that time has come and gone. So why is it that with religion we're not adapting? And mind you, I'm not talking about changing the word in terms of people that believe in the Bible, which I do. The word remains the same. However, the way we do things, same as our culture. In my husband's family, abantwana benzelwa imbeleko. I agree to that. But there are things, I don't think it's appropriate anymore. We can do the mbeleko thing, but I still want it to be a birthday party with cupcakes, with balloons, with those kind of things. So we should ensure that religion works for us, culture, tradition work for us, and they should adapt as we are adapting. The fact that we no longer cook outside, we cook inside on the stove, the fact that we use microwaves, the fact that now you can imagine all the other things that have changed in our lives. Why then are we still holding on to certain things that are not working for us? We are in charge. I'm just going spiritual on you again. God said, as he put us on this earth, he said, "Ibang free, kilifa freedom. You must just know the right and the wrong, but be free." Now, And he said we are in control of everything, in animals, etc. Now, looking at this world, we're in control of our cars, our phones. I'm not going to let my phone control me. When I feel that I need an hour,
yeah.
I ignore my phone. If I feel like walking today, I don't want to drive, I'll walk. So we should ensure that we are in charge and get those things to work for us.
Thank you so much, Cleo, for joining us on the show. Li kutlwetse. You know, immediately when you become in charge of your life, somehow, only a happy soul, because one way or the other, if you allowed into what you do oppressor, with the the depression, stress, end up being suicidal because somehow you're not in control of your life. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. If you do want to participate, please join us or follow us on all social media platforms. It's Dreamstream. And please make sure that if you do want to follow me on all social media platforms, it's Queen KR Royal. Thank you so much.
All I need tonight is your voice.